I now give the floor to the representative of the Syrian Arab Republic.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, I would like to congratulate you and your friendly country for presiding over the Council for this month. We are fully confident that your wise stewardship will bring success to the work of the Council this month. Mr. President, it is deplorable that the Council's debates have become a platform for some member states to level false accusations against my country, which are rejected totally by my country. Today, you have heard once again the repeated statements by some Western countries. My delegation notes total ignorance on the part of these countries of the fact that my country, the Syrian Arab Republic, has voluntarily joined the Convention on Chemical Weapons in 2013, and that it has worked in full credibility and transparency and seriousness to fulfill its obligations under the Convention. This has led to unprecedented success in the total destruction of its stockpiles of chemical weapons and production facilities. Ladies and gentlemen, it has become evidently clear that these countries seek to ignore the cooperation over the past years between Syria and the OPCW and the close consultations with its technical secretariat, which led to a great progress that proves that Syria is fulfilling its obligations under the Convention. Only some technical aspects remain unresolved in this process. However, we still witness repeated attempts by the same countries to use these technical aspects to serve their political purposes. In its monthly report, number 92, Syria has reiterated that since joining the organization, it has been keen on cooperating with the technical secretariat. Regrettably, this 8 years of cooperation on the part of Syria, it has been met with a total denial on the part of the Secretariat. In this connection, I would like to indicate that the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates of Syria has welcomed the invitation extended to him on June 24th by the Director General of the OPCW to have high-level exchange of views. I would also like to state that the Minister on July 6 has expressed a willingness to meet with him in person in Damascus at a date convenient to the Director General. The aim is to exchange views and discuss relevant developments and agree on the way forward in line with Syria's implementation to its obligations. Mr. President, Syria rejects in full the campaigns launched by some countries questioning Syria's cooperation with the organization, and the fact that these states level false accusations against Syria in relation to its initial declaration. We condemn that these countries jump to incorrect conclusions, particularly that some technical aspects being discussed are related to divergent scientific interpretations that could not be resolved in a selective or expeditious manner. We find it ironic that some states alleged in their statements that Syria denied entry visas to the Declaration Assessment Team. This team has had 24 rounds of consultations in Syria until now. In none of these rounds, there was an issue about the entry visas. We would like you to know that until now, the two parties have not agreed on the date of the next visit of the assessment team. It was unfortunate to hear the Director General saying in this chamber in his briefing in June that the deployment of the team would be postponed due to the high temperature in summer in Syria. Mr. President, there is a real challenge that is addressing chemical terrorism. However, what begs question marks here is that this challenge is not of interest to any of the Western countries. The increased attempts by some terrorist groups like Daesh, al-Nusra, and other terrorist organizations affiliated to Al-Qaeda, like the White Helmets, to use these toxic chemical weapons and material in Syria are not of concern to any of these countries. The same is true to the information on the preparations by these groups to fabricate a new charade and use these chemical weapons and accuse the Syrian Arab army of using them. This does not seem to warrant any action by those states. In this connection, I would like to state that the armed terrorist groups continue their attacks on safe civilians and the forces of the army in rural Homs, Hama, Latakia, Idlib, using different methods like missiles, artillery, and drones, which makes the security situation in these areas relatively unstable. Mr. President, we still come to learn facts day after the other about what is stated in the report of the organization about the alleged Douma incident, which proves that the highest officials in the OPCW have distorted the facts to match the narrative of the United States, France, and the UK, to find a pretext to have this tripartite aggression by these three countries on the sovereignty and the territorial integrity of Syria. The attempt by Mr. Arias during his briefing in June to undermine the credibility of the work made when it comes to the investigation in this Douma incident, which stresses that no evidence has been found to prove a chemical attack, would not retrieve the credibility in the reports of the FFM. The insistence on the part of the Director General to turn deaf ears to the many facts and the substantiated scientific observations raised by eminent figures is not the right way to prove the professionalism of the work of the OPCW teams. Mr. President, in relation to the 2 cylinders of the alleged Douma incident stated in the recent report of the Director General and mentioned in some statements of other countries, I would like to clarify the following. First, on June 8, one of the previously declared part by the organization was subject to an Israeli attack which led to the destruction of many chambers, distinguishers, fuel, and the 2 cylinders involved in the alleged Douma incident. And unfortunately, the report of the DG and the statements of some countries here ignored this attack and ignored condemning it. They focused only on the technical aspects. Second, in last November, the investigation team of the OPCW requests that these cylinders be moved to the headquarters of the OPCW. The Syrian National Committee back then indicated that they could not be shipped outside the territories of Syria since they are subject of criminal investigation or judicial investigation, and the 2 cylinders are legal, physical evidence in relation to the alleged incident in which the terrorists used the chemical weapon, and that led to the killing of innocent civilians. Third, the Technical Secretariat of OPCW informed Syria in its note dated 18th of May 2018 that the two cylinders should be maintained until the scientific and technical assessment has taken place. In November 2020, an expert team from the Technical Secretariat conducted this assessment in terms of the dimensions, the content, the quantity, the metal density, the stability regime, the radioactivity, and other aspects. Hence, Syria has fulfilled in full its obligations by the content of this note by the Technical Secretariat in relation to the safety and security of storing these cylinders in a safe place. The Technical Secretariat has not asked for any further procedure. Mr. President, this ailment of politicization suffered by OPCW has pushed it further away from its technical nature and made it lose its credibility. Instead of it being an honest guardian of the implementation of the CWC, it has become a tool in the hands of some countries to use it against other countries parties to the agreement. Therefore, it has to be put back on the right track and play its role, being the key and unbiased pillar in the non-proliferation system of chemical weapons. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of the Syrian Arab Republic for his statement.